Welcome to the Roost.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Episode 2. It
Yeah,
is June 29th, 2025.
that's crazy to think about. Like this year's more than halfway over.
I know, and it kind of stresses me out just because of everything that I have going on.
Really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just got a lot of work going and things like that. Super blessed though. Super grateful
Yeah,
that I have work, and it's a good stress to have.
it is. It's definitely first world problems.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for real.
yeah.
So how was your week?
Week was excellent, man. Starting this new job and super blessed to be able to be working with people that I know from my past life and now into this life. And um, man, I'm just the energy and the overall spirit of this new place, Upper Mesa Recovery. Check it out, out in Hilldale. Just everything about it, man. The house is gorgeous. The If you haven't been to Hilldale, like it's
Yeah.
so beautiful out there. It's on like the southeast, no, southwest side of Zion's National Park. And so you get a lot of the benefits of, the scenery. It's about 15 degrees cooler out there than it is here in St. George. And it's been hot.
They have good water there here.
The world's best water, dude. Like literally, uh, some waterologist, I don't know what they're called, something two steps above a pool boy.
Yeah.
Um, they tested the water out there, and it's like perfect. It's pure,
Yeah.
like perfect.
And it's Upper Mesa
Upper Mesa Recovery.
Recovery.
Yep.
And so what is it that they'll be doing, or what will you be doing out there?
Well, I will be a case manager, peer support specialist, and co-facilitator, which is a lot of fancy sounding words, meaning I'm just going to share my story
Yeah.
with men that are out there. It's an all men's residential facility, dual diagnosis, so specialize in substance abuse disorder
Yeah.
and mental health.
Heck yeah. And
And
so what's your prime candidate? I guess like what does someone have to do to get in there? Or
most of the people that we're going to have in there will have, I mean, I hate to say it, but in this industry, a lot has to do with the insurance that someone has. Obviously, we can take self pay people, but the route to go and who we're in network with is, or I should say, who we're contracted with is um, targeted adult Medicaid.
okay.
So, some of the qualifying things are if you've been incarcerated within the last, I want to say 6 months, but it could be a year.
Yeah.
And then if you have substance abuse disorder, that also helps you to qualify for it. There's other qualifying factors, which is very boring that we can get into some other time. But um, if you or a loved one is in need of help, please contact me. You can reach me through my email, which is jonnnymac81 at gmail.com. And I'd love to help get anybody
Yeah.
into recovery. The funny thing about this place is it's like full circle for me because at the end of my run, um, the facility that we're at right now was where Crossover used to be, and Crossover was run by um, Switch Point, which is the homeless shelter here in St. George, Utah, and they were running a facility out there. I don't know what happened, but they got shut down. But anyway, the last place I've been to 15 different treatment centers, and this was the last residential place that I went into, and I was coming off, a sick one. And so I was very fearful of being, um, going through withdrawal
Mm.
from heroin and fentanyl. And so I snuck something in there when I went and checked myself in there. This would have been on September 30th. And I still have my journal entry from time to time. I'll read that. So September 30th of 2021, I checked myself in there, but my sobriety date isn't until 10/1
Mm.
of 21 because I used, and that was the last place I used at was at crossover at the time in the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
And I did a walkthrough about 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago now, up there. And I went into that bathroom and I sat down. And I remember when I did my last issue, we'll
Yeah.
say, um, I remember looking around and taking everything in because I knew it was a pivotal moment for me. I was done and I wasn't going to go acquire anymore. And I didn't have any means to. I deleted all of my messages, all my contacts, all of that stuff. And yeah, I remember that feeling just like it's finally over.
Mhm.
And I knew that I had a hard road ahead of me, but I never thought it would be so beautiful and that recovery would give me
Yeah.
as much as it's given me. I got my brother back.
Yeah.
I've got, my daughter.
I'm his brother.
I got my daughter back in my life. She's 18 now, but she chooses to talk to me. I don't know how much she's really wanting to talk to me, but
Mhm.
she still, chooses to pick up the phone or reply with text messages whenever I text her and
Yeah.
stuff. And I feel like I have a lot of trust to regain and a lot to build back with her. But I'm really grateful that she's given me the opportunity to do that. And it's only because I've been able to piece together a couple of days consecutively without any mind or mood altering substances, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Well, congratulations on the new job,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
yeah, prayers and blessings that it takes off and you guys get to start getting really busy and everything, which I'm sure it will. It's a big
Totally will.
here in Southern Utah. We kind of have a big community for recovery. People not from here, people moving here, people that are from here. They all seem to migrate towards Southern Utah, and it is a pretty solid community we have of sober people that we have a lot of good support and activities and things to do, and we're close to California and these other neighboring states that seem to have a good sober community and come together and fellowship. You know,
Yeah, that was a big part of my recovery is YPAW,
yeah,
and doing things like the Four Corners event
yeah, like right here,
and
Four Corners.
oh, nice. Yeah. Um, just getting in the middle of the herd, doing all the things I never wanted to do before. But when you're done and you really surrender and wave that white flag, like you're at that point you're wanting to go try new things and go do like sober softball, sober
Yeah,
volleyball, sober. It's funny that you have to put sober in front of these things to imply that you can't be on drugs or alcohol
yeah,
while you're
right.
doing them because to normies volleyball is just volleyball, but I
Yeah,
have to differentiate the two and say sober volleyball,
yeah,
sober softball. But the recovery community here in southern Utah is much like any recovery community out there. They all have their own flavor,
yeah,
their own, their own personality, and um, I love it here, dude. I love the people that are in recovery here. I love the message that St. George has overall, and um, yeah, I've been to other places, northern Utah, excellent recovery community. And I'm not saying any one of them is better or worse. They're just different. And I happen to like this one down here a lot. I'm in love with it.
yeah. I hear you. We went to the spiritual meeting day at 11 at the Alano Club,
Oh, cool.
and uh, my girlfriend, she turned over and she's like, "Do you think this or was this a house before?" And I was looking at her. I'm like, I don't think it was a house, just by the layout, because there's this old concrete pool outside. It's built more like a commercial building and everything. But then I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I really don't know what this used to be,
Yeah.
or like what it is. So I did some quick research and hit up some of our local family and stuff like that,
Oh,
and
cool.
was like, hey, do you know what this used to be and everything like that? And uh, our uncle, he wasn't like 100% sure. He said, but he's like, well, those trailer parks right there and everything like that. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, that was going to be a bigger community, and he's like, if I remember right, that building was going to be the clubhouse,
Oh, yeah. That's what it looks like.
right?
Yeah.
So that makes total sense. I don't know, like what got into the how it got acquired by the AA community and everything like that, but now it is a place for people to go to find peace and refuge and hopefully some harmony and a solution.
Yeah.
Today the meeting uh, was good. It was good, but you kind of sit in some of those meetings, and we're all a bunch of alcoholics, drug addicts, anxious in our head. Um, some of us are constantly fighting, like whatever we're still fighting and stuff. A lot of mental illness too and stuff. And
Sure.
it got to a point where like it was kind of a very it got in a way there was a small thing of tension that happened in there, and I think it was just a misunderstanding, like people do. You hear one thing and it's not exactly what the person was meaning and stuff. And there was a one of the members inside of there that was just talking about how they were reflecting about what it took for them to finally be sober. And they said, like, I came in and looked for someone who had some years. I came in and looked for someone who wasn't on their phone. I came in, just these guidelines that sounded very like rugged, like they need someone hardcore, to
Sure.
keep him sober, and
Yeah.
that's what he needed. That's what his thing was. But then a few shares later, someone else was was sharing, and then it kind of got aggressive and kind of was pointing back at that original person who shared that their their story on that, on kind of what they needed, and pointed out in a kind of an aggressive way that you don't have to, you know, uh, I didn't. Basically, he put it as in, I didn't. I don't care if they're on their phone. I don't care if they have years. Like really kind of like making it sound like this person was shouting out saying like, this is what you need if you want to be sober. But at the end of the day, it's like that's not what he was saying at all. He was sharing on his behalf of what his is, and I think a lot of people in like the rooms, I know it's hard. We all have anxious things, and a lot of us, we talk about resentments a lot, and there's a lot of us that think that we are being talked about or that someone's always talking about us. But it's a lot of it is how you see yourself, and I think a lot of the traumas or even the 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 forgiveness that you haven't allowed yourself to get yet, for that inner healing, to not take things so personally, you know,
Yeah.
inside of there. Remember, and always remember that you're in there to listen and learn, but recovery is your own thing,
Absolutely.
and
Everybody's is going to look different.
way different. Every
Yeah.
sponsor is going to be different.
Yeah.
The sponsees are going to be different. Situations are different. The jobs that you hold at that time are going to be different. Relationships that you're going to be in are going to be different. The relationships you're not are 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 going to be different. So it's very muchly something that is unique to the individual that I always find, and it kind of doesn't upset me at all when it gets like that. But a lot of times I just wish where sometimes that's supposed to be a place, and this is my own thing. Sometimes I'm sitting there and I really need just like solace and I need peace, and then stuff like this comes out. But I always try to remember that I understand. I have an empathy for people who might come off, misunderstanding others. that either like they're going through something that I'm not anymore or that I never will be, because there's also just mental illness out there too. It
Sure.
doesn't matter like how sober they're going to be. They're always going to be dealing with something because they have something that's very deeper than just
Yeah,
the
underlining
alcohol. Yeah,
issues, and there's you know traumatic brain injuries happen, or
yeah,
PTSD, trauma, all sorts of things, chemical imbalances. I mean,
yeah,
there a whole plethora of diagnoses
yeah,
and whatever. And sometimes, you need outside help. But what the book says is that we just approach all those people and look at them as we would, or treat them as we would a sick family member,
yeah,
right? Because ultimately, everybody in there, if they claim to be an alcoholic, if they are identifying as an alcoholic or a member of AA, then they are, um, um, by default, um, they're sick.
yeah. And I kind of want to put out there too for this podcast. We might talk about AA because that's what we're more involved in, but we talk about being um, addiction in like a whole, whether it's in AA, anything. We definitely aren't one sided or another here, and so
However, you get your recovery,
yeah,
I am your biggest fan
yeah,
for sure. If you are trying to not drink or use any minor mood altering substances, um, I'm on your team. We both support you.
yeah,
We love you. And for anybody who's out there struggling with it, like, it gets easier, but it also gets harder. It's a give and take. My sponsor always likes to say it's like peeling back the layers of the onion, and it's like things that didn't affect me in early recovery are now affecting me,
hmm,
and vice versa. Things that used to greatly affect me in early recovery aren't affecting me so much anymore. And I kind of want to, with that being said, like, I don't want um, to whatever. I just need to speak on this because this is the message I want to share today. Um, the thing that I see people in early recovery, where they have the hardest time, is dying to their old life. And what I mean when I say that is your old friends, your old places, your old your old routines, your old thinking. Your whole thinking starts to change and alter. And when you start changing the way you think, you will start to see reality differently. You'll start to see relationships differently. You'll start to see the entire world becomes a new place because you're literally rewiring your belief system. And when you do that, um, it's difficult.
hmm,
There's resistance.
yeah,
And um, more than anything, that's where I see people go back out and they mess up, is because they're unwilling to change their friends.
hmm,
And I'm like, yo, like, if that person or those people really are your friends, then they're going to support you in your recovery. They're not going to make it more difficult, because there's already a million obstacles that we have to face as alcoholics and addicts that are trying to better our lives and gain some traction in recovery. And there's 1,000 reasons to not go to meetings. There's 1,000 reasons to not pick up that phone and reach out for help. There's 1,000 reasons why I don't want to crack open the literature, no matter what it is. Um, and there's 1,000 reasons to hit that snooze button, you know. But ultimately, I don't ever want to be one of those reasons for somebody to not want to go to a meeting or not want to pick up the phone. I want to make it easier for them. I want to make it. I want to be that person that people know that they can call, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be a dependable, reliable, honest friend. And I may say some harsh things, but like I'd rather have people hate me and survive
Yeah.
than be friendly and me not speak my truth and watch another friend perish. I'm sick of going to funerals and watching people disappear, because I have great love for anybody who walks into those rooms. And it's we live in a very strange time where the chemicals are constantly evolving, and they're just getting deadlier. They're not getting safer. It's getting scarier out there, and the numbers are truly showing that we have an epidemic on our hands. It's more than just opiates. Xylazine just hit the scene down here, which is extremely scary. That compounded with fentanyl is going to, it's a scary one, man. Narcan doesn't work on xylazine. They call it trank, and it's whatever.
What is xylazine? So it says
tranquilizer.
It's a veterinarian drug used for sedation, anesthesia, muscle relaxation, and pain relief in animals. It also used as a emetic, especially in cats. In the United States, it has become a commonly abused street drug known as track, and is often found as a
not track, trank.
Oh, trank. My bad. Track.
Yeah. Okay. Tranquilizer.
And it's often found as a cutting agent in heroin and fentanyl. So they're cutting a toxic drug, something like this with a drug that kills already.
Yeah. Yeah. And Narcan is.
Yeah.
It does nothing to trank. So now we have to revise the whole harm reduction during training for harm reduction or administering Narcan. You can't give someone too much Narcan. You'd rather overshoot the mark than undershoot it, right?
Yeah.
And if someone's non-responsive or they're turning blue, they're not breathing, shallow heartbeats, shallow breath, any of that stuff, hit them with Narcan, right? They got the nasal ones, which are excellent. Just jam that fucker in their nose and hit them with 2 or 3 of them. They come in packs of 2. Use them both. They're not gonna overdose from the Narcan, but they will overdose from the heroin or the fentanyl. But now, you're supposed to also do CPR on them after you hit them with which before we were advised to not do that.
Yeah.
Let the Narcan do its thing. Help them maybe with chest compressions, I think. It's so difficult because it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And it's getting scarier, man.
Yeah, it's saying here that xylazine can cause serious skin lesions, infections, and potentially limb loss due to poor circulation. It also contributes to a higher risk of overdose and death, especially when combined with opioids.
Sure.
Yeah.
They both lower your respiratory system.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
yeah, I didn't know about that one, and that's here in Utah now.
It is in southern Utah. Yeah, it's finally made an appearance. We'd all heard whispers about it in the recovery community. When I worked over at Premier, I remember it coming up a couple of different times as topic of discussion, something that we need to look out for. But it's officially here. Someone that works at USARA, our friend Crystal that works over at USARA, she made I think she was on a podcast, if I remember correctly. I'm sorry if I'm butchering all of this, Crystal, but assuming she's even going to listen to this or watch this, but somehow she had gotten the word out there. I don't know what her sources are, but I do know that it's very credible. She's a very honest and credible person. And if you guys don't know what USARA is, it's a peer support. What does it stand for? Will you look that up? USARA. It's anyway. Great place for resources if you're struggling. It doesn't cost anything. It's a nonprofit. You can go in there and they don't report to like the authorities if you relapsed or are homeless, or you don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah, so it stands for Utah Support Advocates for Recovery Awareness.
Cool.
So they do USARA is a nonprofit. They work a lot with treatment centers. They help find funding. They also put on events and everything like that,
Yeah.
which bring the community together, bring awareness for a bunch of different aspects in like the sober world, whether it's AA. I mean, they used to have a CA.
Yeah,
Things
they
like
used
that,
to have
but
Cocaine Anonymous
yeah,
here.
they used to
Yeah.
have a lot of different ones, but yeah, Zara kind of encompasses everything and kind of is a face and a spokesperson for recovery.
Yeah.
Know,
We've
so
got a lot of good friends that work
yeah,
at
so
USARA.
it is a really really good thing.
Love
That's
USARA.
here, but
You
well,
know, the whole scene of the drug world, it's just it's getting so much as if it wasn't ugly enough, as if it wasn't uh disgusting and I don't deadly, and now it's more disgusting. Did you just hear those limb loss? Like, get out of here. Do you
yeah,
remember crocodile?
crocodile,
Yeah, back in the day.
crazy synthetic heroin that makes you like a zombie.
Well,
Basically, rots your skin.
what they used crocodile for, if people don't know, it was for prostitution rings that were illegal, and at a certain age, prostitutes aren't valued anymore. And now it's another mouth to feed and another addiction, and they're already strung out on opiates. So they created crocodile to they're self administering this. They're intravenously pumping this, squirting this stuff in their veins, and it's literally eating them from the inside out.
Mm.
And same thing, lesions, like open sores, big nasty open sores
Yeah.
that become infected, gangrene, um, sepsis,
Yeah.
like just. And that was, that hit the scene 20 years ago. We heard about that.
Yeah.
And that was terrifying. And now it's they're constantly coming out with more. They're not going to come out with less. They're always going to come out with more. And it's our responsibility, not just as people in recovery, but, we're both parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need to be aware of these things that are out there, especially if they're happening in our own community. Hey, did you see that Eros is running for mayor?
Yeah, I did.
Yo, I just seen his sign in some.
I saw it in Riverside. It's there off Riverside and River Road on the corner, I think is where I saw his sign.
I seen it across the street from Vernon Worthen Park.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
But, hey, did you, so I saw this thing the other day where it kind of made my mind like whatever, but, because I had some, I don't remember my dreams a lot, but the other day I had like a crazy 3 bad dreams in like a row. I had one dream where
tell me more.
Like one son I like lost or disappeared, and then I woke up from that like in a hysteria. I wasn't in death or anything, but just gone. And then there was another son that gone or disappeared. In like a way, just not in my life no more. Woke up in like sort of like a hysteria. Had another dream where my girlfriend gone and just gone, I guess, woke up and I was just like, holy crap. But I remember talking to Kendall about this, and I was like, yeah, the only person that wasn't was I didn't have a dream about Johnny. But I guess it's about time to wake up. Maybe that's I didn't fall back asleep or something. But it was a crazy night, But I started thinking too, like, about like, and this is just a weird off, like whatever. Oh, another thing that happened that night too. I was like laying there in bed, and I have this. We have these little minky blankets, One's
Yeah.
kind of gray, and we have a gray Persian cat named Moggs, and I thought it was I thought it was our cat Moggs laying at the end of the bed, and I'm kind of half awake, whatever. And so I start rubbing, which I thought was Moggs with my foot, just rubbing away, and then my eyes kind of focus. I'm looking down at the bed, and I'm like, that's the minky blanket that I've been rubbing for like 3 minutes with my foot. Wasn't even the cat, And I'm
It's
like,
a
what the heck?
lucky minky,
But then
bro.
I was like, thinking some more, and this is just where my mind goes sometimes. But like, you know, blind people, if you're blind since birth, do you see any images in your dreams, or is it just like the smells, the
What is
hearing?
what is your definition of see?
Well, I guess, I mean, if you never know what anything looks like, do you actually dream it?
Sure.
But I mean, is so I like looked up a little thing. It says people who are blind dream. Of course, I already figured that. But the content of their dreams varies depending on whether they were born blind or become blind later in life. Those blind from birth or early childhood primarily experience dreams with sensory information like sound, touch, smell, and taste, while those who become blind later in life may also have visual elements in their dreams based on their past experiences. And then
Huh.
I looked up also, is there instances where a blind person since birth had saw visualizations in their dreams, and it says, while it's widely believed that uh, blind individuals, those blind from birth, do not experience visual imagery in their dreams, some studies suggest that a small percentage of them may, in fact, dream in images.
LSD.
These images are not necessarily the same as those experienced by sighted individuals and often involve a blending of senses or abstract representations.
Hmm.
I was also something else popped up, and
That's crazy.
I couldn't find the story, but there was a kid that when he was around 4 years old, he started talking to his mom and everything like that, and he was having memories of Hollywood and a past life that he had of being on stage. And I couldn't remember if it was dancing or acting or like whatever and everything like that. And I guess he kept talking about this with his mom. And so his mom was, so much that it was convincing her, like, this is strange. Like he just had memories. He's like out, and he wanted to go home to Hollywood,
Yeah.
you know? So the mom found some old Hollywood news articles or some sort of like photo book and stuff like that of like actors and performers that live in Hollywood, and was flipping through them. And the kid pointed out a picture in there and is like, that's me,
Who was it?
of this man. I can't remember,
Ah,
but hold on.
because I have a cool story about that too, but I have to give credit to the source that I heard it from. As soon as you fill us
Well, let
in
me
on this
see.
cliffhanger.
So Ryan Hammonds, a young boy named Ryan Hammonds.
Oh, that's the boy's name. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who did
started
he claim he
around
was?
age 4, began recounting memories of a past life as a Hollywood agent named Marty Martin, including
Martin.
details about Martin's life, career, and even his death. Uh, Researchers, including Dr. Jim Tucker, have investigated these claims, have found that many of Ryan's statements match verifiable details of Marty Martin's life, leading credence to the possibility of a past life. But I guess like when they brought up, he remembered the address of where he was in Hollywood.
No.
He remembered like something like crazy, like his kids' names.
No.
Like just like some crazy stuff that he just so confirmed. Tucker and his team were able to verify that many of Ryan's statements about Marty Martin, including the fact that Marty was a Hollywood agent. Oh, he was an agent who had indeed danced on Broadway and traveled exclusively. He could remember his death.
How did he die?
He remembered when he died. Well, not like his death like that, but he remembered seeing the sunlight outside of a window when he died.
Huh.
I don't know. This is just doing little excerpts as I'm like reading, but yeah. I guess it's on Dr. Oz. Is reincarnation real? There's a Dr. Oz episode that was March 28th, 2025. So this is something.
Yeah, that's recent.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad. So I was watching on the Y-Files, and you know how much I love.
Yeah.
I love the Y-Files, dude. AJ and Hecklefish, they got me off. I've been a long time fan ever since their first podcast. I've watched them come up. They, crappy. Well, I'm not gonna bad mouth their production team. They have a great team though, and I've watched them evolve through the years. But one of their episodes that they did was on this lady named Dorothy. I'm going to butcher this last name, and it's super easy. So if you want to Google it or whatever, or check out the Y-Files, Dorothy EADY 80. I'm going to try that. She was a little girl, like 6 years old, and she was telling her parents that she was born in she was British, and she was telling her parents that she remembers living in Egypt. And she talked about it so much and was so convincing to her parents. Well, I don't know if that necessarily played a part of it, but they knew that she had such a love and a passion for Egypt that they took her to Egypt. And when they took her there, she was saying how she was a priestess. They took her to this, I wish I could remember all the details. Mind you, I'm smoked out, so I'm going to get a lot of this wrong, but they took her to like this palace, and she was able to tell the curator of the place where a garden was at that wasn't there after they excavated and unearthed and rebuilt this city or this temple. She was able to say where, like, hey, there was a garden here, there was a secret passage that went over here, and they literally found this stuff that she was talking about. There's no way she could have known any of this.
Well, they should have asked her how they built the pyramids.
Oh my God, right?
Right.
Yo, I wonder if she's still alive. But
she all starts humming, and the vibrations start like freaking raising up pencils or whatever, like around their laptop start coming up.
Yeah, that's. I don't believe the Egyptians built the pyramids. I'm probably gonna, be catching a lot of flack from that. But there's just whatever. They're in Egypt. We'll say that, right?
And back then, were they actually Egyptians? Were they called Egyptians?
If I had a magic 8-ball, it would say sources say no.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I go off on this kind of stuff.
Is it true that they found some pillars underneath the pyramids? Like,
it's what they say.
It's like that's like real. It's not like
I don't know how we would be able to verify that. We're getting information, but yeah, the information that's given is there's pillars. They go like over 2 kilometers below the pyramids. They are uniform. They are symmetrical, and they appear to be made of. They don't appear to be natural. They appear to be man-made or made of an intelligent design, and we don't know what they're for. There's tons of theories for it. Like I would say the most popular theory is that the pyramids are some sort of large-scale power plant of sorts, and there's ways to prove that, right, through scaling it down and showing how it could produce, how they are power plants if scaled down, but just by the materials that they're made out of and the design that they're made out of. There was never any pharaohs that were found in the pyramids.
Yeah.
There was some inscription that says that we attribute it to Khufu, and apparently the etching that says Khufu, he misspelled his own name, so
Hmm.
that's an odd thing, but I wasn't there, or were we?
Yeah. I
We
know.
could have been.
With these talks of reincarnation, you just kind of never know, huh?
Yeah,
I have my own theories. I mean, whether that's true or not, you know, but I also, I'm someone who believes in, you know, in it, I believe in God. Um, but I also believe that there's a lot of interpretations in like the Bible and like a lot of things of like what God is that have been misinterpreted in like a way, and I just feel there's truths that are not in there. I guess I should just say that I feel are true, and one of them is that we are all, yes, God's children are part of God, and they will in a way say that inside the Bible, but I believe it's deeper than that, to where we are so connected to God that we are in a way connected to him through energy, you know
sure.
and so I believe in a lot of ways that maybe, and just maybe, that it's not necessarily like jumping from body to body or soul to soul,
Yeah,
but the energy is dispersed
yeah.
back into God, universe, heaven, whatever you may call it,
Collective conscious.
collective conscious, to where like that consciousness, for whatever reason, or God has a plan for everything, it popped through, and that this 4-year-old, that lady, was able to access that.
Yeah.
Whether
Yes.
it's whether we talk about people being on the spectrum, or we call autistic people savants, things like that, where they seem to peek into or unlock even parts of who we are as human beings that are more godlike than anything. I mean,
Facts.
we might call them like, I mean, some people might even go and call them like freaks or something weird like that. They're not, in my opinion, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely not. A lot of times, you know, when you're on the spectrum, they have social skills that lack. But it makes perfect sense when your mind just doesn't think like that.
Yeah. Operates different.
It
It's a
operates.
different operating
There's
system.
more. The balance is like a little wrong, but in my way, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Seeing them with memory things, music, perfect pitch, just all these things that you know people can do out there that I just don't know how, and it makes me think like, is that honestly what we're supposed to be like?
Could be.
In like some ways,
Could be.
but
So
somehow,
I've
like,
got
what's that?
two. I've got what?
Sorry, what's that movie where is it where he goes into the future or back in time, where
Idiocracy.
idiocracy?
Dude, we are
Yeah.
living in idiocracy.
No
We
way.
1000% we are living in idiocracy right now. They didn't know how spot on they were going to be with that movie. I mean, just look at some of these, influencers and the people that we exalt today are athletes and people who they they mm, they lack very basic skills and empathy. The very much sociopaths and self-centered, egotistical is that's who our new uh, royalty is. That's who we reward with riches and with all of that. So I have two things about the um I won't necessarily just say autistic. I'll say certain what Western culture and Western medicine labels as mental mental diagnoses, right? And uh, one of those I really want to talk about is schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in somewhere in Europe, I want to say it's up in one of the Scandinavian countries, probably Sweden or Norway or somewhere up in that area, which they could be the same place. I've never been. I'm being told, but there's a village that is literally where these kind of people, people with schizophrenia, are sent to. Now, here in America, if you have schizophrenia, then you're prescribed medication, pharmaceutical drugs to dampen or to combat the side effects that this um, diagnoses manifests in, right? So, like hearing voices, seeing hallucinations, um, uh, you know, um, psychoses, right? Um, in other countries and in older tribes, those people were revered.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't shunned away from society, and they definitely weren't given, you know, it was embraced
Yeah.
that they had these attributes and that they had this special talent and these gifts. And that's what they see them as, is gifts, and they truly are. But unless you have somebody that has experience with that to walk you through and to take away the fear of what that is, and to really learn how to properly map it out as far as it being a spiritual conduit to a different frequency, vibration, or dimension, however you would like to frame it or phrase it. Um, these people are able to see something that we're not able to see. They're able to hear things that we're not able to hear. And I believe that if one is properly in tune, spiritually fit, and has the proper motives backing it up, that these are truly, truly gifts. They're not to be uh, demonized.
Yeah.
And it's like people who have learned how to live with a manic depressant, right? When they're in their depressive state, it's very sad, and it's you know it's it's gut wrenching. It's heartbreaking to watch someone, truly a true manic depressant, and they're in bed for 4 weeks,
Yeah.
but then you catch them in their manic state, and they're building websites, and they're fixing their car, and they're helping people out, and they got business ideas, and they're extremely motivated, and they're flying super high. And I'm envious of people who are in manic states, but then they can push that too far and not sleep for days, and push their body too hard, and forget to eat, and do basic things. And someone who has a good idea that they are manic depressant, that are choosing not to combat this with pharmaceutical medication, they got it mapped out.
Yeah.
They know when
Yeah.
they're in their, if they're in their uptake, or if they're in their downswing, and they will capitalize on both sides of that. They will utilize their downtime to to heal, to do minor things around the house, do a bunch of reading. Um, they utilize their time much differently, because they're able to know themselves, to truly know themselves, and not try to just cover up what they're feeling. And I hope I'm not being insensitive when I talk about things like medications, pharmaceutical medications. I have a feeling about them, and it's my own personal opinion about them, right? But I believe that that's part of the step work that I've done. I've been, diagnosed with 10,000 different things.
Yeah.
And that's all part of God restoring me back to sanity, right? Is if I truly believe that God is going to, if I put all my faith in God, and I do truly believe that, step 2 is working in my life, then that also means that God's going to take care of my mental illnesses, which I have many. Thank you. And they, it's a work in progress.
Oh yeah.
We're all going to be a work in progress.
Heck yeah. Well, that's our show for this week.
Oh
So
shit, that was quick.
I know,
Yeah.
just want to wish everybody a good week, and I will be putting Johnny's email in the comments. Please like and share this video. And we're a brand new podcast, and we want to keep this going. We like sharing our stories. We're gonna start bringing on some guests here once in a while, and
Cool.
have some great things to talk about.
Yeah. Love you guys. Thank you for listening.